and state police, the FBI, all of our local agencies, first responders, local departments, and officers as far away as Oakland County for their efforts last night. I also want to thank the incredible medical professionals at Sparrow who are working hard to care for those injured, as well as all the community members that shared tips so that our law enforcement could act. We mourn the loss of beautiful souls today and pray for those who are continuing to fight for their lives. Every Spartan student, parent, and staff member should know that Michiganders and Americans everywhere are thinking of you today. President Biden and I spoke last night. He pledged his support and the thoughts of an entire nation, and we will work together to do what is necessary to help MSU community heal. We're all broken by an all too familiar feeling. Another place that is supposed to be about community and togetherness, shattered by bullets and bloodshed. We know this is a uniquely American problem. Today is the 5th anniversary of the Parkland shooting. We're mere weeks past the Lunar New Year shooting at a dance hall, and a few months past a shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde. And looking back at a year marked by shootings at grocery stores, parades, and so many other ordinary, everyday situations, we cannot keep living like this. Our children are scared to go to school. People feel unsafe in their houses of worship or local stores. Too many of us scan rooms for exits when we enter them. And many of us have gone through the grim exercise of figuring out who our last call would be to. Last night, a lot of kids on this campus made those calls. They worried for their lives and for their friends, for their fellow Spartans. Parents across Michigan were on pins and needles, calling their kids to tell them that they love them. As parents, we tell our kids it's going to be okay. We say that all the time. But the truth is, words are not good enough. We must act, and we will. But today, let's hold the MSU and East Lansing communities close. And let's think of the families and friends of those who have lost, those fighting for their lives, and the countless Michiganders whose lives are forever changed by yesterday's shooting. We will get through this together, and we will do it with the full support of the state of Michigan and the U.S. federal government. And with that, I would like to hand this over to our Congresswoman Melissa Slotkin.
Thanks, Governor. I want to echo what the governor said about the response of law enforcement. Those of you who might have been listening on the scanner, you heard how deeply complex this operation was yesterday, with young people calling in tips constantly, with an unbelievably difficult area of environment to navigate. Law enforcement did an incredible job. We had hundreds respond from across the state. And I think it's a testament to those who hold the thin blue line for us, the ones that hesitate or do not hesitate when we need them. And I think we should recognize how desperately needed they were last night in our society in general. I want to thank the doctors and nurses and staff at Sparrow Hospital. They were on it. No one wants to live through a mass shooting like this, but they were prepared and they handled it with grace and humanity. As the representative of Oxford, Michigan, I cannot believe that I am here again doing this 15 months later. And I am filled with rage that we have to have another press conference to talk about our children being killed in their schools. And I would say that you either care about protecting kids or you don't. You either care about having an open, honest conversation about what is going on in our society or you don't. But please don't tell me you care about the safety of children if you're not willing to have a conversation about keeping them safe in a place that should be a sanctuary. Now, the Spartan community is incredibly connected and proud. We've already seen people come together. But for me, the most haunting picture of last night was watching the cameras pan through the crowds and seeing a young person wearing an Oxford Strong sweatshirt. The sweatshirts that were handed out after Those kids lived through a school shooting 15 months ago, and we have children in Michigan who are living through their second school shooting in under a year and a half. If this is not a wake-up call to do something, I don't know what is. In the meantime, I feel confident that our law enforcement is doing everything that they can to understand the situation. I'm thrilled that federal law enforcement is on scene, bringing their resources to the fight. We're not going to rest until we understand, but I think the fact that we're having this conference so quickly after another mass shooting in our state should be a statement in and of itself. Thanks very much.
Well, on behalf of the community, I'm Mayor Andy Shore,
Mayor Ron Bacon, East Lansing.
City of Lansing. This is the morning that nobody ever wants to have. This is the day that nobody ever wants to be standing up at a lectern. When you get elected, you want to talk about the great things in your community and not this. But here we are. I do want to thank the Lansing residents who stood up. These many tips you've heard about came in from many of our residents, and as a result, the shooter was identified and the threat was neutralized. So we're very proud of our citizens in Lansing. There's going to be so much fear. It's not just the students, it's the community. I've heard from parents and citizens who didn't know what was going on. So I want to share, we have a community mental health resource that is open 24/7. It's a crisis services department, 517-346-8200. And I also want to share in the incredible job that was done by our law enforcement, LPD, ELPD, state police, Ingham County, and of course MSU. This is what they train for, and today and yesterday they were able to show that they are prepared. It's not something you ever want to do when you train, but they were prepared and they were excellent.
As of today, East Lansing Hannah Center will be available to students in need of resources, and counseling will be available all day. We'll be working with the Department of Health Services today as well to extend other additional things to the community. I just want to say, as Mayor of East Lansing, when I introduce myself, I'm the Mayor of East Lansing, home of Michigan State University. We are indivisible. This Spartan will thing is real. I want to send out my deepest regrets and remorse to the families that lost children, the fear stricken in the children. At Michigan State, for my children, I'm a dad here in this community, is like a playground for them. It's where you go and have your first experiences and taste of college life and fun and all those types of things. And I'm just shattered today. My heart aches for our community, and we'll be present. We'll be here in support. President Woodruff, the entire community of Michigan State University will stand hand in hand, and this is just the beginning. We will find a way forward. I don't want to stand up here and try to communicate that we have the answers at this point, but as Congressperson Slotkin said, we're going to find the answers, and we're going to figure some stuff out here. This has gone far enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Denny Martin. I'm the interim president and chief medical officer at Sparrow Hospital, Lansing. I think a lot of very dry mouths up here this morning, so bear with us and appreciate your patience. I can confirm that last evening we cared for 5 individuals who were brought to Sparrow Hospital from East Lansing campus. The team in our level 1 trauma center with our emergency medicine physicians and trauma surgeons were waiting for them upon their arrival. I will give a lot of thanks to the individuals, the first responders on the scene. Our ability to care for these individuals starts in the field, and they did a fantastic job. 4 of those individuals did require surgical intervention to treat their injuries. 1 individual did not and was taken to the critical care unit after being triaged in the emergency department. All 5 individuals remained in critical condition this morning. I want to thank the overwhelming response from our team, everyone in our level 1 trauma center. This is something we talked about this morning, that we practice for very often, but never want to have to do. And we did it amazingly well, and very proud of everyone. The team was led by our emergency department physicians, again with our trauma surgeons, but can't forget we had general surgeons, cardiothoracic surgeons, neurosurgeons. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night, sorry. So many people that just came in. We received a lot of texts that were just, I'm on my way. Just within people showing up, where do you need me? It was a sad but very proud night for all of us here. So I can't speak to anything about the identity of the individuals, but I'm sure we'll have some time for questions afterwards. But again, everyone is in critical condition at this time, but actively being cared for by our team at Sparrow. So thank you all.
Good morning. My name is Teresa Woodruff, and I serve as the interim president here. And our Spartan hearts are broken. We're grieving, but as a community, we're grieving together. We struggle to comprehend. We lost families, friends, classmates, and our hearts go out to the victims and families of this senseless tragedy. And we offer to each of them the peace that passeth understanding. We continue to think for our medical professionals at Sparrow, and we know that they are taking the best care possible of our students. To our students, we have available to you the support that you need at the Hannah Community Center, as was mentioned by Mayor Bacon. This includes counseling and psychological services, as well as employee assistance programs for our faculty and staff. And we're deeply appreciative to the governor for reaching out directly to President Biden and for the offer of additional mental health services for our community. As a university, we also thank our law enforcement colleagues, both here and in multiple jurisdictions, who responded immediately and continue to protect our community today and each day. I want to thank the staff who are on campus today. MSU is on modified operations, which means we're on essential personnel only for today and for tomorrow. And those staff who are here to support our 17,000 students who are on campus and our 50,000 students across this great university, we thank you. I also thank directly our students, faculty, and staff who complied with the request to shelter in place for hours at end without knowing exactly what was happening. We thank you for your courage to maintain that shelter, which allowed our law enforcement to take the actions that they did. We ask each of you to honor your feelings and to take care of yourself and each other, and together we will come back more resilient than ever and more ready to face what is needed in this society, which is the courage of all of us to ensure that this never happens again.
Good morning. I'm Marlon Lynch, Vice President for Public Safety and Chief of Police here at Michigan State University. You've heard by several people in regards to the response of first responders last night. Their work continued through the night, processing crime scenes, obtaining additional statements, additional evidence, tireless work hours. We're not only bound by our duty, but a large percentage of us are invested in our community. We went to school here. We have children here. We have family. This is us. This is part of us. These partnerships are great. Our processes will continue with this. We will continuously be joined by our partners as we are here today with the FBI, the state police, as well as Lansing Police Department in East Lansing. And I hate to even go down the list because there's so many agencies that responded last night, continuously responding and asking how can they help. And it was all in a timely manner, very timely with that. You will hear a recap of the incident and as well as some updates based on the events that have occurred overnight in regards to our students that were involved and also the suspect.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Chris Rosman with the Michigan State University Police and Public Safety. As you can tell, this has been a long night for a lot of us. We have been committed from the beginning to being as transparent and getting as much information out as possible. And we're going to continue to do that throughout the day and as this investigation moves forward. I'm going to start with a brief recap of the incident yesterday. This tragic situation unfolded shortly before 8:30 p.m. The first call that we received was from Berkey Hall. Berkey Hall is an academic building on our northern campus that borders downtown East Lansing. Initial calls reported shots fired in that building, and there was an absolutely overwhelming police response to that initial call. We had officers in that building within minutes, and in that building they encountered several students who were injured. We can confirm that 2 of the deceased were in Berkey Hall, along with several of the victims. While the officers were managing that scene at Berkey Hall, we began receiving additional reports of another shooting at the MSU Union building just to the west of Berkey Hall, right on the corner of Abbott and Grand River. Officers redeployed to that location where we did locate 1 additional victim. We do have 3 total deceased and 5 victims at the hospital. We can confirm that all 3 deceased were MSU students. We can also confirm at this time that all 5 of the injured victims at the hospital were also MSU students. We will release the names of those students later today, once we work through some notifications and make sure that the family's aware that we're going to release those names. The suspect in this case was located at approximately 11:35 p.m. in the city of Lansing. The suspect was located by units that were assisting in looking for that suspect after the shootings. The suspect is deceased due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and we are prepared to release the name of the person who committed these homicides at this time. We have previously confirmed that he was 43 years old. He's a male. His name is Anthony. Last name is McCrae, M-C-R-A-E. Anthony Dwayne McCrae. He's a 43-year-old male. We would like to sincerely thank our community for their help. Because of our quick release of the photograph from the campus security cameras and the help from our community, it was a caller's tip that led law enforcement to that suspect in the city of Lansing. We cannot thank the public and the community and the person who called in that report enough for being observant, for following our messaging, and for being vigilant and contacting us immediately. We will continue to share resources for the MSU community through our institutional website and our MSU Police and Public Safety social media pages. We know that this news may be difficult for those within our campus community and beyond, and it's important to remember that the grief that some individuals may be experiencing is normal, and there are a number of ways in which individuals can seek support, including talking with friends, family, and colleagues to process this, and taking advantage of many of the resources that we have provided. We are prepared at this point to take some questions. Sure. Sure. I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Jim Taraska.
Good morning. I'm Jim Taraska, the Special Agent in Charge of the FBI in Michigan. First of all, our hearts go out to all the victims, their families, the students, and the community. This happens much too often. I'd like to thank all our partners in law enforcement. Chief, once again, thanks for your leadership. Just great examples of leadership last night from all the agencies that showed up short notice and showed selfless sacrifice to attempt to identify, find the subject, and eliminate the threat. Last night when this occurred, many agencies arrived on scene. The FBI deployed agents, analysts, and specialty teams to help in the effort to help the victims and to also find the individual responsible, which occurred. Thanks to law enforcement. Law enforcement here in Michigan, it's the best I've seen in my 30 years in law enforcement. And I was very proud of our community in law enforcement and the community at large to come together to resolve this issue, this matter. And we'll continue working in the future hand in hand to mitigate these threats and try to make Michigan as safe a place as we can for our families. Thank you.
So I think we are prepared to take some questions now. Again, I do have to reiterate, this is still fluid, it's still ongoing. There are still crime scenes that are being processed, and we still are in the process of putting together the pieces to try to understand what happened and why it may have happened. So we're still working through that. So we will go ahead and take some questions at this time.
Deputy Chief, can you discuss at all
Hold on.
potential
Go ahead right there.
Thank you. There was a large police presence at a home on Creston Avenue and East Howe Avenue in Lansing. Was that the suspect's home?
So I can't confirm the actual location or address.
Okay.
We are aware that there was a search warrant executed on a residence that was connected to the suspect in this case. We're not prepared to share that specific location at this point.
Do you have any information on the firearm and whether it was registered to the individual who suspected of using it?
So at this point, we have no additional information on the actual weapon that was used in the incident. Those are things that we will continue to process and look at today as part of our investigation.
Did you recover the weapon?
We did recover a weapon, yes, right there.
So 7 of the 8 victims are at Berkey Hall. The 8 is at the Union, and the Union victim also was one that passed away. Is that correct?
There were two of the victims from Berkey Hall are deceased. One victim from the Union is deceased. There are 5 additional victims that are at Sparrow Hospital. I cannot confirm where all 5 of those victims, which building they were in. I believe most of them were from Berkey Hall, but I can't confirm that. I'm going to go right there. Yes.
I understand the first, you said officers arrived shortly after the 8:30 call, but in the second building, can you describe the timetable of what it took to get to the MSU Union building? Because officers were already within a distance of where this happened.
Yeah, the MSU Union is within very close proximity to Berkey Hall. It's within walking distance. I would describe it as less than a block to the west of Berkey Hall. All indications at this point point to the fact that the suspect exited Berkey Hall and walked over to the MSU Union. When those calls initially started coming in from the Union, we were able to quickly redeploy resources to the Union, and the suspect actually quickly fled that building. He was not in the building for that long.
So when you say redeploy, how much of a timetable is between that?
I can't get into the specifics on the time frame right now, but that will be part of the investigation that we'll look at is the time between those two incidents. Right there.
Has the suspect had any previous interaction with law enforcement?
So that's part of our investigation today, is to look at the suspect, his background, his history. Those are things that are occurring with our state and federal partners right now, who have really taken the lead on helping us with identify the suspect, especially since that incident did occur off campus. But those are things that we're looking at today, and those will be integral to the investigation. In the back, Rick.
Deputy Chief, can you shed any light as to the why this happened, what his motive was, why he chose Michigan State?
You know, we had the same question last night, and we have the same answer this morning. We have absolutely no idea what the motive was at this point. We can confirm that the 43-year-old suspect had no affiliation to the university. He was not a student, faculty, staff, current or previous. So that's an unknown right now, and that's what we're trying to understand is why this incident occurred. I know everybody wants to know what the motive is. We don't have an answer right now, and that's the honest truth.
Was anything found inside of his home that might help with that?
I can't comment on what was located in the residence as part of that search warrant, but that is part of the ongoing investigation. Right there.
Last week, several schools in Okemos and other schools across the state were shut down for an active shooting, which was determined to be a hoax. Have you determined if there's any connection to that at this point?
So I won't get into that in detail. Obviously, we're looking at the possibility of any connection. What I will say is there doesn't appear to be initially. But those are the type of things that our state and federal partners are really going to look at. But initially, it does not appear that there's any connection. In the back right there. Blue, Channel 7.
I understand that police made contact with the suspect before he shot himself. Can you explain what that contact was and what was the time frame?
So I don't have any additional information on the sequence of events when law enforcement contacted the suspect. There was a tip called in from an alert citizen that reported the suspect. That call was dispatched to resources that we had deployed in the field. We had so many police officers on campus. As part of our unified command structure, we started deploying resources off campus in order to respond to reports just like this. And the responding officers encountered the suspect. And I can't comment more on that actual interaction. That is being investigated by the Michigan State Police right now. Right there.
Does Mr. McCray live in this community first, and then also with the medical personnel here? Can you tell us anything more about the extent of the injuries of the guy?
I'll start with that, and I'll turn it over to the doc. We're still working to ascertain place of residence for the suspect. As we have said all along, we want to make sure any information that we share is accurate, and we are still working to determine place of hometown and residence for the suspect.
Yeah, thanks. There wasn't a consistent injury pattern with the individuals that were brought to the hospital, but the initial reports last evening that the injuries were life-threatening was correct. But there wasn't a consistent nature. It was a variety of injuries associated with the gunshots that came in.
Chief,
Go ahead.
were there any other weapons recovered on the suspect or around the suspect after he took his own life, and weapons and or ammunition?
So again, I can't comment on that specifically. That will be part of the investigation. That scene that occurred is being investigated by the Michigan State Police. And I can't comment on what evidence was recovered at that specific scene.
But you did say that you recovered one weapon.
We do have at least one weapon, yes.
Used in the incident on campus?
That's part of the investigation, and we'll work to determine that.
We'll take one more question.
If I may.
We'll go two. We'll come back to
Slide in regard to the timing of the tip, roughly you came out at around 11 o'clock shortly thereafter with the first news briefing and released the picture.
suspect was encountered before midnight. So this tip came within minutes of you guys releasing this photo, or can you clarify?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. As soon as during this incident, when it was ongoing, and you can imagine the number of moving pieces, we had MSU Police and Public Safety investigators reviewing surveillance footage, and they quickly determined that we had a picture of the suspect, and we quickly disseminated that publicly. And you are correct, it was shortly after we released it that he was recognized by an alert citizen. And so the time frame was pretty quick after we released it. So we commend the community and the citizen that called that in, and that was exactly what we were trying to achieve by releasing that picture, was to generate immediate tips for this person that was mobile, that we had no idea where he was at that point.
And if I may, did any of the victims or anybody that might have been in proximity say if the suspect said anything or just came in shooting, or can you clarify at all how it transpired?
So that'll be part of the investigation in terms of what the suspect did or said. There are numerous witnesses that we have interviewed, and we will start to put those pieces together and see. But I don't have that information right now in terms of if the suspect said anything when he committed these heinous crimes. In the back, that's.
How long will resources be provided to students on top of, will there be any extensions on school delays and school activities?
We will provide the resources the students need for the time period they need, and again, we thank the federal government for their response. We will be in modified operations for the next 2 days, and then we will move into a period where classes will be canceled until Monday morning, but campus operations will resume.
Can we ask the medical staff one other question?
One more
We
for that.
understand that the patients are still in critical condition. Can you tell us what their prognosis is for recovery?
It's still very early on. You know, this is the injuries occurred just over 12 hours ago, so their conditions are evolving. Again, I'll say that they're all absolutely in a critical condition, but there's varying degrees of that. But I think it's just too early. It's too early on in their course to give any kind of prognosis at this point. So. No, not at this time. I can't identify anyone. Yep.
So, appreciate everybody coming this morning. We are going to continue to share information. That concludes this briefing. We will be here today and working around the clock to provide resources and to continue this investigation, and we will continue to provide information. But thank you.